Good morning. Welcome to another in the Sankore Fireside Chat. It's February 12, 2025, just 2 days short of Valentine's Day. So you may say we're in the season of love, and how fitting it is on this Fireside Chat to have this topic, the proper care and feeding of husbands. And for today's chat, we have an inspiring speaker that I'll shortly tell you about. But just for a moment, this conversation is about love, career, and success. Is it really possible to have a thriving career and a loving, deeply fulfilling relationship? Well, we're going to hear today because in this Sankore Fireside Chat, the proper care and feeding of husbands, we'll explore how a fulfilling marriage or a committed relationship isn't just a personal win, but instead a professional power move. We'll discover why nurturing your relationship could be the secret weapon to achieving your biggest career goals, and why this unorthodox perspective challenges everything you have been taught about love and ambition. So, for today's Sankore Fireside Chat, I want to welcome our presenter, Dr. Sandra Palmer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Dr. Sandra Palmer. So, we're going to have this extraordinary woman presenting to us who will share her wisdom which spans business, leadership, and love. We're talking about Dr. Sandra Palmer. Dr. Sandra, as she's affectionately called, is a dynamic speaker, accomplished entrepreneur, and business strategist for over 25 years, having helped leaders and organizations thrive. She is the CEO of Above or Beyond and holds a doctorate in business management and information technology. She has been recognized globally for her impact, including being named one of the top female entrepreneurs in the Americas by the World Bank. But today, we aren't just tapping into her business acumen, we're diving into the lessons she has learned firsthand about love, marriage, and partnership. Dr. Palmer is happily married to her soulmate and proudly declares that in her second marriage, she won the marriage jackpot. She also has an accomplished adult daughter who is an attorney. Splitting her time between Florida and Jamaica, she has experienced the highs and lows of both career and relationships. Dr. Sandra is refreshingly candid. She admits to having made her share of mistakes, which is why she can bear witness to what truly works. Today, she'll challenge conventional wisdom and offer practical, proven insights on how a fulfilling marriage can be a secret weapon for career success. And in true Dr. Sandra style, she doesn't hold back. She says, today, a good man is too hard to find, not to keep. So get ready for an insightful, honest, and empowering conversation. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Sandra. So, Dr. Sandra, today we're going to have a paradigm shift. We're going to flip the script. But before we get so deep into this, and I encourage you, persons who have joined, please type your questions in the chat as we go along. So, Dr. Sandra, I want you just to tell us a little bit about yourself and why is this important to you? And let me frame it. It says the proper care, yes,
and
and
support us.
handling of husbands. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell us about yourself and
Mm-hmm.
why is this important to you? And we want to hear also about your relationship journey.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you for that warm introduction. And welcome to those who are joining us from all over the world. Um, this is a topic that is I'm so passionate about. And why am I passionate about it? I'm passionate about it because I really want everyone to experience and I want everyone to find what I have found and to know that the myths, the lies that we have been sold to us are exactly that, myths, not true. As a woman and as a professional woman, yes, you can have it all. You can thrive in love and relationship, and you can thrive in your career. It's not choosing one or choosing the other. And I
So
have made my fair share of mistakes, as I have said. Unfortunately, we don't get a manual on how
nobody
to
does.
do this thing. And sometimes it's trial and error. But the important thing is that we learn as we go and we put what we learn into practice. And that is what I want for my listeners today who have joined. Like, what new will you hear, or what will you be reminded of that you're going to leave and put into practice? Because it's not what you know, but it's what you do.
All right. So, Dr. Sandra, just to set the stage even much better for the persons in the audience, in 3 words, what's your philosophy on what we're talking about? Love and career and having it all.
I love
What
that
are
question.
those three
Love
words?
it,
What are
love it,
those
love
3 words?
it.
And I'm going to write them down because I will challenge you. Let's go.
Okay. So if I were to pick 3 words, it's hard because there are so many, but if I were to pick 3 words, I would pick mutual respect, Winroy. And I call it the M of the relationship. And you see where I'm going with this, the professor in me, right? I think mutual respect is the foundation of any relationship. Respect means that you value the person's thoughts, you value their feelings, you value their individuality. And without respect, there is no trust. Without respect, there is no growth. Without respect, there is no true partnership. So that's my first one. Mutual respect. And then appreciation. I think that appreciation is kind of like the glue that holds the whole thing together. Sometimes we tend to take our significant other for granted and assuming that they'll always be there for us. They have chosen us, and so they're not going anywhere, right? And we fail to express gratitude often, right? But gratitude, I think, fuels that emotional security and strengthen the bonds that we share in the relationship. Whether it's something big or something small, appreciation and gratitude. So that's the A. And then the other one, I think, is connection. I think connection is like the heartbeat of the relationship. You know when it's there, you know when it's not there. That nice, warm, fuzzy feeling that you have with this other human being that you don't have with anybody else. That presence, that understanding, the shared experience, that makes the relationship alive and exciting. And believe me, I can tell you from experience, it's not just during the honeymoon phase and the first 2 years, and they tell you, oh, after that it's downhill. Lies, not true, right? So for me, it's mutual respect, appreciation, and connection. And I call that the Big Mac of relationship. The Big Mac, MAC. And if you feed your relationship on the Big Mac, you're good to go.
Okay, so I've heard you share the Big Mac, and I like that MAC, and it's respect, it's appreciation, and it's connection. But while you have shared those key ideas, somehow I'm feeling, and I think perhaps others might think, like you're really now putting some burden on women by saying they need to do this to properly care for their husbands. How do you respond to that? Why are you putting the burden on women?
Interesting point, and I'm glad you raised it. A relationship is the responsibility of both partners. However, today the focus is on us women and what we bring to the relationship and how we can basically direct, guide, and determine the outcomes in the relationship. So it's not that the burden is on women. We talk a lot of times about, what men are supposed to do and so on. And the fact is that sometimes as women, we join two clubs. One is the men bashing club, and the other club is the all men are guilty club. And unfortunately, no matter what's happening at home, the partner that you have, if it's a great partner, you find that if everybody else is complaining about these no good men and everything that is wrong with husbands, your husband, who quite innocent, did nothing wrong, find out that you are quite cold and have no idea why, right? So I'm just flipping the script today, and we are taking front seat because as women, Winroy, we have no idea the power that we have, the power that we have in our relationships to get the happiness that we want.
Okay, I get you. So it's really what the woman ought to be doing, not to say it's the only thing that should be done in the relationship, because a
Exactly.
relationship is a two-way street, and as such, and I'm gathering that men should also have that Big Mac approach to their relationship, if I might add that. That's what I'm
Yes.
gathering from what you're saying, right? So,
Yes.
so what the next question that I would ask, you have this passion for this topic. What are husbands saying? You alluded to, what husbands might be thinking. What are husbands saying? Why are we here? What is it that husbands are saying? Why we're having this conversation that you could be saying, appealing to women that these are the things you need to do to keep
Okay.
the proper care for your husband. What are husbands saying?
Winroy, men are saying some things that doesn't put us in a very good light as females,
Interesting.
as wives, right?
Let
And
me hear them.
I'm hearing things like, well, maybe they were right when they said that saying I do was a sentence. Maybe they were right when they said after marriage, chop lock. Maybe they were right in saying that all the fun is over. I have heard men say that, the last time I got a good glimpse of my wife's body was at the honeymoon or during that early phase or before we had children. I'm hearing men say, well, no, it's only sweatpants, long t shirts, and the busy wife syndrome. Yes, we're busy doing important things in the home, and I'll get to that later. But husbands, and it's unfortunate, are sometimes feeling uncomfortable in their own home because it's like the domain of the wife, and then if children come, it's the domain of the wife and
And the
the
children.
children. And so the husband actually feels like a boarder, somebody who is boarding and just being there, and don't get in anybody's way, just do what you're supposed to do, and pay your dues, and that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate that some of our husbands feel sidelined.
Yeah, that's a really sad
Yeah, yeah.
situation to
So,
have
so
as a
th- that's
reality.
what they're saying. And so then, what is it that men need? What is it that we should be doing as women? And it's not like you're doing it for your husband. You're doing it for the relationship. You both will benefit from it. So it's not what if I do this and he doesn't do that. And one disclaimer I will make up front is that when I talk about a husband, I'm not just talking about the male person in the marriage. Yeah. A husband comes with certain responsibilities, rights, privileges. You chose this man. You
yeah,
chose him. You chose to love him, right? And love is a decision, a choice and a decision. It's not a feeling that goes and comes. So men need first and foremost respect. And I'm going to say that if women tune into what I call the Rain FM station, they will be on cloud nine. And the first thing is respect. Respect is it's fundamental in a relationship. And once you undermine and belittle your spouse, you are doing emotional damage.
manage.
Emotional damage. And I can't say this enough. Respect is like the currency in the relationship. Spend it wisely, and you'll never run out of love in your relationship. And then the next thing is appreciation. I touched on this before. Gratitude, just expressing gratitude for your husband's contribution, whether it be financial support, whether it's a small act of kindness, whether it's just to foster some goodwill. Acknowledge your husband's efforts, and make him feel that he's appreciated. When you appreciate him, he feels more motivated to nurture the relationship. So that's the A, respect and appreciation. And I will say that happy partners don't grow on trees. They don't. They grow when they're watered with gratitude and respect. And I call that basic relationship botany, right? Where you nurture, right? And the other one is intimacy. Yes, sexual intimacy. Intimacy is integral. It's a significant expression of love and connection in the marriage. And you know, um, I pause because a lot of women fall down here. They're doing a lot of other things right, but again, the tired mother and the tired wife syndrome. I'm too busy. I don't have time. And so they don't treat that part of the relationship by honoring their own sexual needs and the needs of their partners. They see it more as I say, obligation or a chore, and it is sad because then when you do that, you end up having a man who is thirsty or hungry for intimacy, and they feel punished. Think about it. They feel punished, deprived by their wives, and there is hell to pay if they ever look at someone else, even accidentally, or look in a magazine at a beautiful woman. And the thing is that it doesn't have to be this way. We can change it all. It can't be every blue moon. There is what I call the begrudging parting of the legs after much complaining and rejection. Is this fair? Should he just suck it up and accept that you don't have time? So the intimacy part is important. And then nurturing. Women are natural nurturers. We are just wired for caring and support. I mean, look at mothers, how they deal with their children. That's where men come from, the womb, right? And so we should embrace that. We should embrace our feminine warmth and bring that to the relationship. That's what the man wants, our nurturing qualities. Husbands crave our feminine warmth. They don't want no animosity and the vexation and the malicing. No. And marital happiness. Both partners are responsible for that in the relationship. So if I summarize what I've just said, it's Rain FM. To tune into Rain FM. Respect,
Yeah,
appreciation, intimacy, nurture, feminine warmth, and we are all responsible for marital happiness. I like acronyms because sometimes when we forget things, acronyms can help us to
Well,
anchor it and remember.
yes, yes. And you have anchored some fresh perspectives, I must say, just now, and what I gather. And by the way, let me just say this: any male that is on this call right now, feel free to say your piece if it is that you think what Dr. Sandra has shared could be so, or you have heard that it is so. I encourage you to type in the chat. But Dr. Sandra, as I listen to you, the question arises in my mind: is it that if these are the things you're recommending that women should do, could it then be that because some are not doing it, could it be that they're not aware, or they're aware but they are so wired to be the way they are? And to add to that, don't they know then if they were doing the mark, the mutual respect, the appreciation, the connection, they too would enhance the situation by having a
Mhm.
fulfilling relationship and, and,
Yes.
and perhaps a professional power move. I mean, what more can you add? Is it that they're aware, or they're aware but they don't care? How do you answer that?
Okay. Well, I call it the core needs of men, and it's not the long laundry list that we women have. It would take me a whole day to go through what we want, you know. And that's not for today. That's for another conversation. Understanding men's core needs is not rocket science. It is simple. To answer your question, is it that women don't know? Maybe some women don't know. I have to assume that maybe some women don't know. If you're on the call, you have to check yourself and say, is this new information? Did I not see it this way? Why is it that if I come home from work tired and my child greets me, I wouldn't say, "Oh, not now. I'm tired." Go find something to do and push them away. I wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that, right? You would embrace, and hug and kiss and say. And if they're excited to show you something, you'd go and look at it, even though your feet are killing you, and you just need to take off the high heel shoes and put down the briefcase and go and dress. That's how you would respond to that child, right? However, why is it then that if your husband, yes, no, when he needs your attention, sometimes he doesn't get that response, or most times, or some husbands will tell you, oh, they're sidelined, they never get that response. It's like they're just not there. And if you look at it from that standpoint, this man who has chosen to love you, this man who you have chosen to love, that you will not find the time, you
Fine.
will not treat him with the respect. I've heard and I've seen it myself where strangers are treated better than how some of us wives deal with
The
the
husbands.
interaction with our husbands. So now that you're being made aware, if you didn't know, then the question is, what will you go do after that? If you need help, because sometimes you need professional help, yes, then get help. If you want to talk to me, if you want to book a session and say, you know what, I want to press reset and get this thing right, then let's do it. So I'm not going to point a finger and say the women know and just don't want to do anything. It could be that they're not aware, and sometimes they're focusing on other things, not the wrong things. Those things are also important. But remember, there are some things that you can pay to get done, but what your husband needs in the relationship, he can only get it from you, right? The housework can be farmed out, the management of all of that, all of those things that we're so busy doing this and doing that, and all of that is nice, but he wouldn't mind you just coming and sitting down on the couch with him and watching a movie and holding his hand. He wouldn't mind you just cuddling up with him in bed on a rainy night and just, like, as they say in the old days, there doesn't have to be any old days. We can keep that flame glowing.
So what I'm gathering from what you have said, Dr. Sandra, the book of the needs of a man is a very simple book, perhaps just one page, compared to the book of the needs of a woman with several pages. Yep,
I think
that's
I
what
may
I'm
be
gathering.
get into a little trouble for saying that, but if
Yeah,
we be honest, and I can speak for myself, um, when after my first marriage ended, and I said, I don't like this singleness, but I've learned a lot, and I know exactly what I'm looking for in a partner. Winroy, I came up with a list with 40 things on it. I kid you not. 40 things. I
40.
typed it up, I dated it, and I signed it, and I said, I will not settle. And anyone I met, I would do the test and score it. And if it didn't add up, like not even a second date. And my present husband, he jokes about it and he says, well, he only had two things on his list.
Yes. So
I
that's the point.
actually feel quite offended, like, I'm not really that valuable. You only had two things, and I checked them and I had 40 things. But I'm just sharing that just
Yes.
to answer what you're saying, that women,
Yes.
yes, we can be a bit complicated. Um, and I'm not saying that men are simple.
Simple.
What I am saying is that what you see is what you get, and you don't have to overthink it.
Okay. So,
Trust
Dr.
me on
Sandra,
this, I know what I'm saying.
yes. And I believe you in saying that you know what you're saying. And as such, I'd like you, if you so desire, to share what does supporting your husband look like in today's world, especially you being a professional woman, and this is really targeting those women out there like yourself. What does supporting your husband look like today?
Right. Yeah, yeah, okay. So supporting my husband takes a lot of different forms, and for different people, it's going to be different. So it's supporting his work, what he does, making it's some simple things, So based on the kind of work that he does, I'll come across an article or I'll come across a new concept, and I'm like, this would be good resource. It could be good material, for something he's working, or an idea that he's playing with, you know, and just to share that. Supporting him could mean, probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes before a big event, a big presentation or something. I'm just kind of sending a little note and some little hearts. I'm saying, you've got this, hit it out of the park. Simple things like that, just being there. It's a hard day, he comes home after dinner, a glass of wine, just sitting down, how did things go?
Yes.
Not a cliche, how did things go, but how
Mhm.
did things go? And really listen. It's just remembering all the little things that I know that he likes, and
Mhm.
make sure that it's there, it's available. I do the things he like. I will wear the colors that he like. Now some women may think that is going too far, and no, my my husband's happiness is my top priority.
Mhm. Yes. Okay, good. So what you're saying is that we should reframe perhaps how we approach relationships in a sense, and modern day couples might be struggling from what you're saying because they have not taken on a certain perspective. Is that something you would say? The angle from which it's being done now, there is more that can be done to strengthen the relationship. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think there's a lot more that can be done, but we have to go back and start with how we think about this. How we think
Yes.
about this. Um, I put it this way. I put it this way. When you value your relationship and you value this man who you have chosen to be with, he is not at the bottom of your list. He is not when I get around to it, right? And sometimes as professional women, there is this thing that I am so busy and I have all these things to get done. But, a relationship provides a certain amount of emotional stability. and I'm speaking from my own perspective, a certain amount of clarity, a certain amount of motivation. And these things, these factors, I find they translate into professional success. According to this singer that I really like, Maxi Priest, he said it's not a 50-50 love, it's a full 100. It's giving everything. It's a full commitment. And the best way I can put it, there's this Red Bull ad that they said Red Bull gives you wings. I don't know if you have ever seen it,
Yes,
right?
I've heard that. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's a wonderful feeling to know, and to know for sure
Yes,
that there is this person, your partner, that has your back. Literally, it gives you wings. You feel like you can fly. You feel that with his love and his support, there is nothing that you can't accomplish. Now, why would I give that up? Is that a trade off? Why would I trade that for saying I'm not going to invest in that because I need all the time to focus on my career? Actually, I would be cheating myself
so
by doing that.
you're saying that if one were to prioritize their partner's needs, it can translate into a greater career success, for example.
Yes, I definitely think so.
So the woman says to you, look, I'm just busy doing my career and I need to build this thing. I can't deal with all your needs right now. How do you respond to that woman who says, look, it's more important to focus on my career now, and your needs are, you just need to put them on pause?
Okay, I can understand that sometimes persons may feel that way, but what is key to note is that in any relationship there is what I call the giving and the taking, the compromise, right? Um, because sometimes you can't do it all at the same
Yeah,
time. What do I mean by that, right? It could possibly mean that someone may decide, well, you have to go first. Let's do these things that pertain to you first.
yes,
Let's do this thing that pertain to me first. But that's an agreement,
yes.
like you have to move for somebody's job.
Okay, I see Dr. Sandra's camera. Okay, you're back, Dr. Sandra. I'm not so sure what
Yeah.
happened just now.
Okay. After you have to move for somebody's job, or you know a child is sick and some other decisions have to be made, an opportunity comes up, and you're saying, okay, this is a great opportunity for us as a family. Yes, it's for your career, but we're going to do this for 2 years, or we're going to do this for 3 years. Oh, I know you want to go back to school, so guess what, why don't you go and do your master's? That's going to take 24 years, then 24 months. Then after that, I am going to do this. And it's a working together. It's
Absolutely.
it's a team. It's a
Yes,
team. It's not a competition, because once you get into this thing where it becomes a competition, I think we have a problem.
yes. So what
Definitely.
so what I'm hearing you saying is that as you pursue your career and all your aspirations, never forget the importance of keeping the relationship between both man and woman alive, because you know you're gonna arrive at that point of career success with that person, and that person could either be there feeling fulfilled or feeling not full. That's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, I think so. Such a point you raise is that, how would it feel that at the end of it, whatever it is for you, that you're standing there with your trophy, but you're by yourself? And it has
Yes,
happened.
yes.
And even if the person is there, they're there physically. They're just
But
there
not
physically,
otherwise.
but not otherwise. Not
Hmm.
otherwise, because they were not being nurtured. They were not getting any rain.
Yes.
You were not tuned into Rain FM,
FM.
and
Yes.
so they checked out,
Yes.
and I am not saying that that is, that's okay for the person to do that, because there should be dialogue, there should be
Mm-hmm.
communication, but I don't think anybody deserves to be sentenced to a marriage where there is no connection, there is no warm fuzzy feeling, there is no safety. Your relationship is your safe space. Your
Yes.
relationship is your place of growth. Your relationship is where you grow with somebody else. They bring out the best in you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that person is your best friend. That's how I see it. So
Yes.
you don't feel like you're giving away anything or giving up anything, because whatever you do for him, you're doing for yourself as well. It's a place of curiosity. Every day I learn something new about my husband. We can't live long enough to know somebody fully.
True.
So you have to approach your relationship with curiosity.
Yes. Yes. So you have shared some key ideas to what I consider a radical approach to how relationships should be nurtured. Just remind us, um, why do these ideas work? I mean, you have said it, but I think it's crucial that you remind us why it work for those who might not necessarily understand that these ideas are in fact there to help you catalyze the very process that you're into, whether you're seeking whatever aspiration. Remind us, why do these ideas work that you have shared? For example, the Rain FM, the Mac.
Hmm.
Why do they work? Because that's one key point I want to have this
Yes.
audience leave with. Why does it work?
These ideas work because, one, to start with, we are first and foremost human beings. And as human beings, we have some basic needs. And one of the needs that we have, both as husbands and as wives, is that there is the need to belong, the need to feel wanted. Yes? The need to be a part of a team. And this is team love, the two of you. Yes? It works because we are wired for reciprocity. We're wired for that. It's
Yes,
almost automatic that when you do something nice for somebody, Winroy, they want to do something nice for you. It's
yes,
almost automatic. Yeah.
that makes sense. That
Yeah,
actually makes sense.
it does.
Yes.
And so if both approach the relationship, remember it's not a one-sided thing.
Right.
This does
Okay.
not work if you're in a
So
relationship with someone who is not a husband.
align. Yes, yes,
Right? Then you have some other things you need to work on, right?
right.
It does not work if there is abuse. It does not work if there's infidelity. So I am just making sure that we are on the same page
Align.
when we're saying
Yes.
a good man who has chosen you, yes, and is playing his part, yes, may not be perfect. Please do not expect perfection. You are not perfect yourself, right?
Hmm.
If you approach this relationship with your full self, with
Yes.
intention and support and care for your husband, it's I mean, it's a win-win proposition. It's a win-win.
Hmm.
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket
Yes.
science. I said to women, test it. Try it for a couple of days. Try it for a couple of days.
All right. Great. Sounds
Go
good.
and have converse. Start by giving a compliment, saying
Yes.
thanks for something. Catch yourself, write it down, make a note on your diary. I will not complain for the next 24 hours. Then add it to 48 hours. Then push it to 72. Then push it to a month. And
Yes.
I'm not telling you anything I have not tried myself. And
All right.
watch the temperature in your relationship change. Watch everything just becoming better when you
All
do
right.
that.
So I'm gonna challenge you now, Dr. Sandra, with what you just said. I want you to share. at least one habit or
Mhm.
mindset shift that women on this call and men, because we're clear now that you're not saying that women should have the burden of the Big Mac, right? But it's both parties in the relationship. So my question to you, or my asking of you, is to share with the audience one habit, at least one habit or mindset shift that either men or women can start practicing today, giving us probably an example that you have installed.
Yeah.
Can you
Boy,
share
the
one
one is
habit?
kind of hard, but I will try. Yeah. I think I would start with gratitude, appreciation. You know, those words are interchangeable. So I would say, yeah, start with thank you. They say thank you is the shortest prayer, right? Thank
Yes,
you, thank you. Start small. I would say start with some daily acknowledgments of your partner's efforts.
yes,
And it doesn't have to be a big thing. Doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a small thing, you know, but show appreciation, show respect,
yes,
you know, approach conflicts. And I think this is key for us as women because we're very gifted with the tongue, you know, we're much
yes,
better at than men. In,
yes,
you know, we talk a lot, we say a lot, like we're good, you know, we're good where that is concerned. And sometimes it can be our greatest enemy, I dare say, you know. Approach
hmm,
conflicts with curiosity rather than criticism. Because
hmm,
sometimes it's not that what you have to say and your intentions are not good. That's far from it. The
hmm,
problem is how you approach it. So you approach it, you complain. Don't complain. I said, don't complain, inform. Your husband is not a child. You didn't marry a child and you didn't marry an idiot. Well, I hope you didn't, right? So you
hmm,
trust them that they have an approach to things. Trust them that there is another way to do something. Not because he fold the thing this way and you fold it that way. Not because he do this way and you do it that way. You're two different persons with two different backgrounds. At the end of the day, the result is the same. So what if he does it a different way, right? So don't treat your husband like a child, right? Don't complain, inform.
yes,
Don't criticize and whine and nag, right? Those words are very negative. Listen to them, criticize, whine, and nag. None of us want anybody to do that to us. But
yes,
somehow we do it sometimes unintentionally. Yeah, think about it. Your husband is not your emotional punch bag. So, you know, you can just say anything and do anything because, you know, he has to be there, you know, he loves you. And so you wouldn't do that with anybody else, not even with your
yes.
friends, because they
So
would
what I
call you.
so I'm hearing you saying that you ought not to take the person for granted.
Definitely
That's
so,
what
sir.
I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. So couples, you're saying, therefore, can collaborate. A husband and a wife, they can collaborate to create a dynamic relationship that really would serve to benefit their personal lives and careers. That's what I'm hearing you saying. Is that correct?
Perfectly correct. Perfectly correct. You know, the my perspective is that in a relationship, the reason why we went into a relationship in the first place, you know, when you were saying the I do's and you were starry eyed and bushy tail and that sort of thing, where did all of that go? You made that choice because you wanted a relationship that was alive, a relationship filled with love, a relationship where you were supporting each other, you were holding hands and walking through life on this journey together that would have its ups and downs and so on. Where did that go? That's what we want, right? And I feel that sometimes, you know, the husband, and I've heard husbands say this, that they feel like they can't do anything right. You know, they try their best but they feel like they can't do everything right. And my suggestion to women is
Hmm.
that if you have to try to change everything about this man, have to try and change everything about him. Maybe, just maybe, you said I do to the wrong person.
Yes.
Because if somebody have to become somebody else
Yes.
in order, to be to
To
fit
be.
neatly into your life,
Yes.
I don't think anybody wants to sign up for that.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Dr. Sandra. You have been very insightful thus far. Audience, I just want you to continue to type your comments, questions in the chat. And in fact, I encourage you, you could even type, what's your perspective on the relationship career dynamic? What's your thought? How do you find what you have been hearing? What would you like to say in response to that? Or perhaps you could type, what challenges do you face in applying some of these principles that you have heard? Does it make sense? Does it challenge the status quo? Is it going to be too big a paradigm shift for you to undertake? Is it something that you can install in your new mindset? I want you to type because there is an opportunity for you to engage, and any questions that come up, we will take, and Dr. Sandra will be happy to answer your question. And as the questions are typed, I will take any questions that come up and I will pose it to Dr. Sandra. But Dr. Sandra, you know, before we get to the questions, what's the one takeaway that you hope everyone on this call leave with today? What's that one takeaway?
Mm, I would. You like these one things, right, Winroy?
Yes, because let me tell you where I get that from. I
Yeah,
have this idea that if I'm going to do a presentation, for example, if I say what I am going to present in one line
yeah.
and the electricity goes, at least you got the
Then at
message,
least they
right?
walk away. They walk
They
away
walk
with
away
that.
with the
Walk
message,
away
right?
with that.
So
Yeah,
so my
yeah,
thing
yeah,
is, no, I'm not going to leave it to the last point
yeah.
because what is to be said is already said. So what's that one takeaway for the person who didn't hear it the first time? Because sometimes when you read a book the second time, you see it for the first time. What's the one
Okay.
takeaway?
Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So I'm going to have a little preamble before I tell you the one thing. I
Yes.
am
I know it's
going
a
to.
lot to unpack.
I'm gonna tell you my ladies on the call a little secret. A little
Okay, it's a
secret.
secret. So
Your
brace
husband,
yourself. It's a secret.
your husbands, listen, your husbands will walk through fire for you. Your husbands would go to the moon and bring you back water. Yes, yes, that's how he's wired. That's how he wired. He wants to please you, he wants to serve you. Yes, listen to that carefully. Let that sink in. And if their husbands on the call, and if what I'm saying is not so, let me know, because I know this to be so, right? He will walk through fire, walk on hot coals without shoes, right? Therefore, if he is wired for this, there is, can you imagine? The only limit to what he will do and how far he will go is to the extent that you are not showing up and tuning into Rain FM. I go back to Rain FM. Rain FM is my one thing, Winroy. The respect,
Yes,
the appreciation, the intimacy, right?
yes.
And the nurture, the feminine
Hmm.
warmth, and the marital bliss. That would be what I would want women to walk away with today. Tune into Rain FM. Water your relationship as the plants need rain.
Hmm.
Our men need rain from us.
Yes. No, that's absolutely powerful. And I know I put you on the spot to what I would say distilled all this wisdom that you're sharing. But in fact, that's powerful. And I will say it this
That's
way. For
fine.
anybody outside of Jamaica, probably you don't know this little adage or terminology. But it is true in Jamaica, a man, when he really would do anything for a woman, he would say something like this. I would climb 10 maca tree for you. Now, for those on the call who don't understand what a maca tree is, it's a tree with prickly spines. It's no different from walking through fire for you. And you're right. It is true that the man's plan, purpose, aim is to please his woman. And the husband's purpose plan is to please his wife. So it actually makes sense when you said that. What's the one takeaway? And it's a secret. And I consider it perhaps an open secret because women know this, right? And you sequestered it in your languaging by saying it's Rain FM. And I would say that's what respect, appreciation, intimacy, nurturing, feminine um, being, and
Feminine
just
warmth.
marital, feminine warmth and marital bliss. And I think you are right. If women practice this now as a secret, which now is known to everyone, they will get more of what they desire. So yes, thanks for that. So question and answers. Anybody have to ask questions? All right. So we will look at the questions that we have. All right. So here's one question that I have coming up, Dr. Sandra, and it says, and I read it. It says, in a world that increasingly emphasizes individual achievement, isn't prioritizing a partner's need inherently counterproductive to personal success? How do you respond to that?
Interesting, I no, it's not. I prioritizing your partner's needs based on everything that we have discussed isn't about losing your individuality. It's really about fostering what I call a mutually supporting environment where both of you can thrive, where both of you can thrive. It's not either or either. I think a strong relationship creates that emotional stability in the relationship where it means now that it enhances the focus and performance in other areas. Because when you have that part locked, Winroy, when on the home front,
Yes,
everything is clicking, as we say, right? Everything is clicking, everything cook and curry, as we would say in
yes,
Jamaican parlors, right? Then
hmm,
the other areas, including your career, no, it's as if they're on steroids because
yes,
that support, you remember that Red Bull phenomenon that I shared earlier?
yes,
That's how I feel. The empowerment that you get, the support that you get,
hmm,
that cannot be equaled. That cannot be
yes.
equal. So no, it's not counterproductive at all.
All right.
It's
So,
during prioritizing your partner. I feel that
yes.
this is the boost. It's a
All right.
productivity boost for
All
success.
right. All right. Thank you for that, Dr. Sandra. And we're going to make sure that we go through all the questions, and I'm seeing quite a few questions. So this next question, it says, the Lord knows I practiced Rain FM, but as I went through menopause, I experienced some psychological changes. And I think the fact that my husband cannot understand this is very disappointing. How do I show appreciation for this behavior? So we're going to answer the questions very pointedly, trying to give everybody an opportunity to have their questions answered. So how would you answer that directly, Dr. Sandra?
Okay, all right. So I am going to be as candid as possible. So I can relate to the question. I personally can relate to the question because I am at that stage of my life. And I think what works is that you cannot suffer in silence and expect that your husband understands what you're going through. There has to be open dialogue and communication.
Yes.
And if you have been practicing rain, as the person has
Good.
shared,
Yes.
then having those open, candid conversations should not be difficult, right?
Yes.
As we age, he will go through his things too. It's not a
Yes.
one-sided thing, right?
Yes.
And we both cannot pretend as if we are 25 or 30 years old. But
Yes.
I can tell you that those changes do not have to have a negative impact on the relationship. Whether it's the intimacy, whether it's the appreciation, all aspects of the relationship can continue to grow and thrive during menopause. But you cannot pretend as if nothing is happening, and you cannot sit through it in silence. Your
Yes.
husband is not a mind reader, and there has to be communication.
Communication.
If
All
he
right,
needs
Dr.
professional
Sandra.
help, then
Thank,
please.
thank you for that. Another question. You also mentioned saying thank you. Please also share other examples of how you show more appreciation to your husband. And I would say just keep it short. Give me one example of another way other than thank you.
Being physical. Men love when you are physical and showing your appreciation. So instead of saying thank you, an embrace, a warm hug, a kiss, well, that's saying
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. All right. Great. I see another. It is not really a question. It said, as some relationships fatally flawed. I'm not so sure how to make of that. I'm not ignoring your question. It's just that I don't
Can you
understand it.
repeat the question?
It's not really a question. It's a comment. It said, as some relationships fatally flawed. Not ignoring the person, but it's not clear. And then I see another one. Well, it's really a comment. It said, our men need rain. And you're absolutely right. That is true. Making sure that everybody gets attention. It is another comment. Well, it's a question. It says, is every woman wife material? I think you alluded to that. It's not every husband, it's not every man who's a husband. And by extension, it's not every woman who is a wife, right? So I think I could answer that
Choose
one.
wisely.
Right. And then, well, somebody also asked, is every man husband material? And again, I think I answered that. Another question, it says, my wife is a teacher and is very exhausted after dealing with so many children for most of the day. How should she approach trying to implement your points? That's you, Dr. Sandra.
Oh, okay, all right. And so, one, we are going to be real. We're going to be real, not creating any fantasies now, right? You come home and you're tired, right? That's your job. You have responsibilities at home to your children and to your husband. As a wife, you do. And so you have the responsibility to organize your time, and you have to say no to some things that you would say yes for. You can't volunteer for everything.
Yeah.
You can't do everything because you have other priorities. And I will say quickly that if, as a wife, you don't make your husband your number one priority, he may return the favor.
All right. Thank you for that answer. And in another question, Dr. Sandra, how can working together as in a boss and an employee work without your anger and resentment rolling over? That's a question.
Okay, so
Oh,
I think that means now to take that home with you.
yes, I would
You have
imagine
a
that's
disagreement at work, and then you take it home with you. I think that's
yeah.
probably what the person is
Yes,
asking.
right.
Yeah. So I know that there are some couples who have a pact where they don't talk about work, especially if they work in the same industry or in the same space. So it really depends on your relationship. What works for me is that because my husband is my best friend, he's the first person I'm going to discuss it with. So he's going to give me another perspective on it, and when I also get it out of my system. So in the how was your day thing, I may bring it up and say, so and so happened, and get
Yes,
some feedback on it. Actually makes me feel better about it. I get sometimes get some very good suggestions and ideas from him on it as well.
yes.
But don't come home with it and take it out on him. No, he's not an emotional punch bag.
All right. So just before, thank you again for that. Just before we go to the last question that I'm seeing here, we have about 2 minutes left and we want to wrap up quickly. So attendees, just want you to know that there's a special bonus for you having attended this session today. All attendees will receive a Valentine's discount on Sankore's membership plans. Plus, you get a chance to enjoy an exclusive discounted one-on-one 60-minute session to help you take action on the insights from today's fireside chat. So please note that that is a special bonus to you. You could visit the Sankore's website and you could get some more information. Right, so we have just about 2 minutes left. And in that 2 minutes, I want to sum up the key messages that we had Dr. Sandra sharing with us today. Of course, the one takeaway is a secret. Remember, RAIN. And what does RAIN? RAIN FM, that's respect, appreciation, intimacy, nurturing, feminine warmth, marital bliss. And of course, don't forget the need to offer some Big Mac. Yeah? Mutual respect, appreciation and gratitude, and connection. So with Rain FM and Big Mac, I think any relationship can soar to the skies on
I'll
and
I'll
beyond.
add to that, Winroy, by saying you summed it up perfectly. I would say, do not, do not take your husband's love for granted.
Yes.
Don't.
All right, very important. I have two more questions and I just go through quickly because I appreciate you on the call. Good morning. Thanks for the tips. Even wearing our husband's favorite color shows him we care. I do have a question. Give a practical example of how, as wives, we can encourage our husbands without them feeling we are being picky.
Okay. I think it is the how, the framing, the how we go about it. If you start the conversation with an air of superiority, I know more than you, I'm better than you. Worse if you have two more degrees than he has, or if you have a management role and he doesn't. And I mean, there are different types of relationships, and there are some relationships where it's going to be more problematic, depending on how you approach it. So you value your husband for what he brings to the relationship, the skills he brings to the relationship, the characteristics that he has that he brings to the relationship that made you choose him in the first place. And start, I say, not from a point of complaint, because we're not saying there is criticism that is useful. But if
Yes,
you just nag and complain, and if it is not framed in a supportive way, because you can have a bad idea, and I need to share with you that it is a bad idea. But
yes.
if I start by saying you never come up with anything that makes sense, you realize that that conversation is not going anywhere.
Negative. That's
So,
negative.
right.
Right.
So be
So
careful of our words. Our
yes.
words.
So important to express gratitude. And in this point in time, I want to express gratitude for everyone who has taken out time out of their time to give us some time to show us some appreciation. We want to show you appreciation. And for that, I want to say thank you for joining today's fireside chat. We look forward to supporting your journey and towards having a harmonious and successful life. And just remember, going forward, you can have it all. Yes, the question was, is it possible to have a thriving, fulfilling, loving relationship in your career and your life at home? Yes, it is. With some rain, we can have some great trees growing, great botany. Rain FM and Mac. All right, so I want to thank you all for joining and have a good rest of the day.
At Above or Beyond, the goal is excellence.